Antarctica is a vast continent at the very bottom of our world. It is a land of ice, a place of extreme cold and breathtaking beauty. This continent is covered by enormous sheets of ice, and flowing from these sheets are massive rivers of ice called glaciers. These glaciers are not just frozen water, they are a critical part of our planet's climate system. They act like a giant mirror, reflecting the sun's heat back into space. This helps to keep the Earth cool. The health of these glaciers in Antarctica is linked directly to the health of our entire planet, influencing weather patterns and ocean currents far away from the frozen south. Imagine these glaciers as a giant frozen savings account for the world's water. For thousands of years, this account has been stable, holding trillions of tons of ice safely on land. This frozen reservoir plays a vital role in maintaining the balance of our oceans. However, our planet is getting warmer due to climate change. This warming is causing the glaciers to melt much faster than they should. As the ice melts and flows into the ocean, it is like making a huge withdrawal from that water savings account. This extra water has to go somewhere, and it ends up raising sea levels all around the globe, which is a big problem for coastal cities. The consequences of melting glaciers are not just a distant threat for the future, they are happening now. The Thwaites Glacier, sometimes called the Doomsday Glacier, is one of the most important and vulnerable glaciers in Antarctica. It is huge, about the size of Great Britain, and it is melting at an alarming rate. Scientists are very concerned about Thwaites because it acts like a cork in a bottle, holding back even more ice behind it. If it were to collapse completely, it could lead to a significant and dangerous rise in global sea levels, putting millions of people who live near the coast at risk of flooding and displacement. This is why Antarctica's glaciers are so important to everyone, no matter where they live. Their stability is connected to the homes, economies, and safety of communities worldwide. The ice of Antarctica might seem remote and disconnected from our daily lives, but its fate is deeply intertwined with our own. Understanding the scale of the problem is the first step. The next is to explore what, if anything, we can do to protect this vital, frozen part of our world. Scientists and engineers are now looking at bold and ambitious ideas to try and slow down the melting before it is too late for us all. Because the problem is so enormous, the proposed solutions have to be equally ambitious. Engineers and scientists are thinking about ideas that sound like they come from a science fiction story. One of the most talked about concepts is a form of geoengineering, which means using large-scale technology to alter the Earth's systems. For the Thwaites Glacier, one idea is to build a massive barrier on the seafloor. This barrier would stand in front of the glacier, where the ice meets the ocean. Its purpose would be to block the flow of warm ocean water that is currently melting the glacier from underneath, which is the primary cause of its rapid retreat. This underwater wall would be a monumental undertaking, larger than any structure humans have ever built on the seafloor. It would need to be incredibly strong to withstand the immense pressure of the glacier and the harsh Antarctic Ocean conditions. Another similar idea involves building a series of artificial islands or mounds on the seabed. These mounds would not form a solid wall, but would act as anchors. The goal is to provide points of friction for the base of the glacier, helping to pin it in place and slow its slide towards the sea. These ideas are focused on physically holding the glacier back and protecting its most vulnerable point. Another set of ideas focuses not on blocking the glacier, but on cooling it down. Some scientists have proposed drilling deep holes through the ice and pumping extremely cold brine, which is very salty water, down to the base. This super chilled liquid would spread out underneath the glacier, helping to refreeze the melting sections and strengthen the connection between the ice and the bedrock below. A more futuristic concept involves creating more sea ice in the area. This could potentially be done by using giant cannons to spray seawater into the frigid air, creating artificial glacier snow that would build up and thicken the protective sea ice shelf in front of the glacier. These engineering solutions are all about buying us more time. They are not designed to be permanent fixes for climate change, but rather emergency interventions to prevent a catastrophic collapse. Think of it like performing surgery on a patient in critical condition. The goal is to stabilize the patient, in this case the glacier, so that long-term treatments like reducing global carbon emissions have a chance to work. Each idea comes with its own set of huge challenges, but the fact that scientists are seriously considering them shows just how urgent the situation in Antarctica has become for the entire world. While these engineering ideas are creative and bold, turning them into reality presents enormous challenges. The first and most obvious hurdle is the location itself. Antarctica is the most remote and hostile environment on Earth. Temperatures can drop to unimaginably low levels, and storms can be incredibly fierce. Building anything there, let alone a massive underwater structure, would be a logistical nightmare. Transporting the vast quantities of materials, equipment, and people needed for such a project would require a global effort on a scale never seen before. The cost would be astronomical, likely running into hundreds of billions of dollars, raising questions about who would pay for it. Beyond the financial and logistical problems, there are significant engineering unknowns. We have never tried to build anything on this scale in such an extreme and dynamic environment. The forces at play are immense. The glacier itself exerts incredible pressure, and the Antarctic Ocean is powerful and unpredictable. Would an underwater wall be strong enough to hold back a river of ice the size of a country? What unforeseen consequences could arise from altering the natural flow of ocean currents? We would be experimenting with one of the planet's most critical systems, and if we get it wrong, the outcome could potentially make the situation even worse than it was before we started. There is also a major ethical question to consider. Should humans be interfering with the natural world on such a massive scale? Geoengineering is a controversial topic. Some worry that by focusing on technological fixes, we might distract from the real solution, which is to stop emitting the greenhouse gases that are causing the planet to warm in the first place. There is a risk that such projects could give people a false sense of security, making them think we can simply engineer our way out of the climate crisis without making difficult changes to our lifestyles and economies. The potential impact on Antarctica's unique ecosystem is also a huge concern for many scientists. Finally, even if we could overcome the cost, the logistics, and the engineering hurdles, there is no guarantee that these solutions would work permanently. They are designed to slow the melting, not stop it entirely. As long as the planet continues to warm, the pressure on the glaciers will continue to mount. The underwater wall might hold for a few decades, or even a century, but it would be a temporary patch on a much larger problem. This highlights the difficult truth. There is no simple, easy fix. Protecting Antarctica's glaciers requires us to face these incredible challenges head-on, with a clear understanding of both the risks and the rewards. Despite the monumental challenges, the exploration of these engineering ideas is a powerful symbol of human ingenuity and our will to solve problems. The fact that brilliant minds are dedicating their time to tackling such a colossal issue is a reason for hope. These projects force us to think bigger and push the boundaries of what is possible in science and engineering. They are a testament to our ability to innovate when faced with a crisis. This work matters because it is about more than just one glacier. It is about taking responsibility for the future of our planet and exploring every possible avenue to protect it for future generations. The conversation about saving Antarctica's glaciers is also a global wake-up call. It brings the reality of climate change into sharp focus in a way that statistics and charts sometimes cannot. When we talk about building a wall to hold back an entire glacier, it makes the scale of the problem undeniable. This can help motivate people, communities, and governments to take the threat more seriously. The ultimate and most effective solution is not found in Antarctica itself, but in our cities, our industries, and our homes. Reducing our carbon footprint remains the most important action we can take to save the ice, and these grand engineering plans underscore the urgency of that task. Success will not come from one single solution, but from a combination of efforts. It will require unprecedented international cooperation, bringing together scientists, engineers, policymakers, and citizens from all over the world. We need to invest in research to better understand the complex systems of our planet. We need to support the development of new technologies. And most importantly, we must work together as a global community to reduce emissions and transition to a more sustainable way of living. The fate of Thwaites Glacier is a shared responsibility, and its protection will require a shared commitment from all of us. In the end, whether we build an underwater wall or not, the effort to save Antarctica's glaciers is a fight for our collective future. It is a story about hope, resilience, and the power of science to help us navigate the challenges ahead. The path is difficult and uncertain, but it is one we must walk. By facing this challenge with courage and collaboration, we are not just working to save a distant sheet of ice. We are working to preserve the delicate balance of our world and ensure a safe and stable home for all the generations that will follow us. The ice of Antarctica is calling for our help, and we must answer.